All right, today we're going to tackle something that's a real headache for so many companies, that massive, confusing, and always growing cloud bill. You know, the cloud was supposed to give us all this agility, but for a lot of folks, it's just delivered a whole lot of financial chaos. So, let's dive into how you can actually get a handle on it.
Let's just start with a number, just to get your attention. $1,080,000. Yep, you heard that right. That could be your annual bill for moving just 2 petabytes of data out of a major cloud provider. And look, this isn't some crazy rare scenario. This is a real-world cost that can sneak up and completely blow up a budget. The stakes here are incredibly high, and it often comes down to one little misunderstood line item.
And that line item is called egress costs. You can basically think of it as the toll you have to pay to take your own data off the cloud highway. It's a huge part of the cloud business model, right? It's super easy and cheap to get your data in, but it's really expensive to get it back out. And that makes it one of the biggest sources of those shocking surprise bills. It's a perfect example of the hidden costs of the cloud.
So this really gets to the heart of the problem. For your engineers, the cloud feels like hitting the jackpot. They can build and deploy stuff faster than ever. But for your finance team, it often feels like a slot machine that just won't stop spinning, and they have no idea if they're winning or losing. But here's the good news. There is a structured way to get from that chaos back to a state of control.
Okay, but let's be totally honest here. The path to getting control is not some neat, clean, straight line. As one expert said, you don't just, move through the phases once and you're done. No way. You're going to be looping, you're going to backtrack, you're going to be firefighting. It's a messy process of untangling all these technical and financial knots, and that's totally okay. The trick is having a framework that can guide you through all that chaos.
And that framework is the FinOps lifecycle. It's this proven model for managing cloud costs, and it breaks the whole problem down into 3 main phases. First, you've got inform, which is all about getting visibility. Then you optimize, where you actually take action. And finally, you operate, which is where you automate everything and make it stick. This is going to be our roadmap for the rest of this explainer.
So first up, phase 1, inform. Now listen, the goal here is not to save a single dollar. Not yet. The only goal is to get total, absolute clarity. It's all about turning that mountain of billing data, all that noise, into a clear story, a narrative that everyone, from the engineers to the finance folks, can actually understand.
And this quote just nails the feeling, doesn't it? When your boss asks, "Where's our money going?" what they're really saying is, "Why is this so complicated? Why does this invoice look like a slot machine just exploded in my inbox?" This first phase is all about being able to answer that question with real data and confidence, not just a shrug.
So how do you actually do it? Well, it all starts with the basics. You've got to have a solid tagging policy so you can see who is spending what on which project. And can you accurately figure out the cost of your shared resources? Things like Kubernetes clusters that manage all your applications or your shared databases. Once you have that, then you can build a baseline for your forecasts. You can benchmark teams against each other. And you can set up alerts to warn you before things go way off the rails.
You know the old saying, you can't manage what you don't measure? So what are the vital signs you should be tracking? Well, what percentage of your costs are covered by your critical tags, like owner or project? You should be shooting for over 92%. How accurate is your spending forecast? Is it within 15%? And what percentage of your bill is totally unallocated? A complete mystery. These are the numbers that really tell you how you're doing.
All right, so you've done the hard work. You've got that hard-won clarity. Now what? Now it's time to take smart action in phase 2, optimize. This is where you get to turn all those cool insights from your dashboards into real, actual savings.
But, and this is a big but, optimization is not just about blindly cutting costs. That can be super dangerous. It's really about engineering value. It's about finding that sweet spot, that perfect balance between performance and price. It's about cutting the right costs, the ones that are just waste, not the costs that are actually driving your business forward.
Okay, so let's get practical. Remember those awful egress costs from the beginning? Here are 4 concrete things you can do to lower them. You can use things like virtual cloud routers to send your traffic more efficiently. You can use private connections to just bypass the public internet altogether. If you're using multiple clouds, you can be really strategic about how you route your data between them. And you can rethink how you use services like NAT gateways, which often charge you for every single gigabyte that goes through them.
And this is why this is so important. Every single dollar you save on wasted cloud spend or inefficient architecture is a dollar you can put back into the business. You can reinvest it into the things your customers are actually asking for. More innovation, better security, new features. It's about funding the future of your company, not just trimming this month's budget.
Okay, now for the final and honestly the most challenging phase of them all, operate. This is where you take all your one-time fixes and your manual cleanup work and you turn it into a sustainable automated practice. This is about building that FinOps muscle across your entire organization, so it becomes a habit, not just a one-off project.
Now, to really succeed here, you have to have a major shift in mindset. You know, the old way of doing IT was all about rigid control, like a four-way stop sign that just slows everybody down. The modern cloud way is about enabling and supporting your teams. It's more like a roundabout that keeps the traffic flowing smoothly and safely. You give your teams freedom, but within a smart, well-defined framework.
But here's the trap. This is where so many companies fall down. They build these beautiful dashboards, they set up all the alerts, and then nobody does anything. Their operate phase isn't operational at all. It's just observational. They're just watching the house burn down on a high-def monitor instead of actually grabbing a fire extinguisher.
So how do you make sure your operate phase is actually operational? Well, you have to get into a weekly rhythm of reviewing costs. It has to become a routine. You need to build financial guardrails that don't just send a warning, but that actually bite, like, say, automatically deleting untagged resources after a few days. You got to push alerts right into the tools your teams are already using, like Slack or Jira. And you need playbooks so everyone knows what to do when something goes wrong. It's all about that continuous feedback loop, getting a little better every single week.
And all of this leads to maybe the most important question of all. Who is actually responsible for this stuff? Is it one FinOps person? Is it the finance department? The answer is, it's everybody. FinOps is not one person's job. It's a culture. It really is a team sport.
Let's break this down by role, because everybody has a part to play. Your finance team doesn't trust the data? Okay, give them direct access to the dashboards and sync up the cloud tags with their budget codes. Your DevOps team is scared of breaking production just to save a few bucks? Totally fair. Apply different, safer policies to your non-production environments. Your product leads have no idea what their projects actually cost? Well, start enforcing owner tags and send them a weekly email summarizing their team's spending. See, everyone has a role.
So if you remember just one thing from all of this, let it be this. Success with FinOps comes down to building a rhythm. It's that constant drumbeat of weekly reviews, having clear ownership, and using automated guardrails that finally turns this whole thing from a stressful project into just a normal business practice.
And that leaves us with one last question for you to think about. Right now in your organization, is your cloud spend just an uncontrolled expense that happens every month? Or is it a strategic investment that you are actively managing to create real business value?